All right, everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm actually starting a series here. It's going to be for beginners. If you're more experienced and you still want to watch, that's lovely, but we're going to be taking my bike today. We've got a big open parking lot, no one around, and I'm going to be showing you how I learned how to ride a motorcycle for the first time. It was on my Ninja 400, and I had actually never ridden a dirt bike, a motorcycle, anything before that. Hadn't even done the MSF. So I'm going to show you how I managed to learn how to ride. I watched tons of YouTube videos and kind of put it all together. So this is gonna be a combination of that. This is designed, like I said, for beginners. If you've never ridden a motorcycle before, I'm gonna walk you through everything on the bike, how to use it, how to operate it, and then I'm gonna show you how to get from being in a parking lot like this, or your driveway, or neighborhood cul-de-sac, wherever you can safely practice, get from the bike being on the side stand to moving and hopefully up to second and third gear. So let's jump into the video and we'll start on the bike. All right, so approaching the motorcycle here, I'm gonna walk you through all the controls that you need to know for this motorcycle. I'm taking this from the perspective of you've never been on a motorcycle before and this is your first time riding. So we're gonna start up front. You've got your screen on here, it shows you your revs. Mine luckily has a gear indicator. Your bike might not have that. But the first thing we're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the key in and turn it on. Now your motorcycle is on and it is ready to get started. Every motorcycle is a little bit different. Some of them require the clutch to be in, the kickstand to be up, all these different things. But for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how mine can start up. So this is your clutch over here. I'm going to pull that in and just get the bike into neutral. If you're sitting on the bike, I only have one hand to show this, but if you're sitting on the bike, you just pull in the clutch, whether you're in first gear or neutral. Pulling in the clutch puts you into neutral. So once it's in neutral, we can see with the N there and the green N there, this is your kill switch over here. Anytime you need to stop the bike, your kill switch or your key is going to be the easiest, but your kill switch is going to be right near your thumb when you're riding. If you have an accident, you go down, hit that kill switch, turn the bike off, even if the key is still in. So like that, we're going to flip the kill switch to the on position, and then we're just going to hold down the start button. As soon as you hear the engine noise, you can release that start button. And just like that, your motorcycle is on. Like I said, hit the kill switch, the bike turns off. I would leave it on, but it's pretty loud, so I'm going to run you through all the other controls you have on here. So up front by your hands, like I already mentioned, this is your clutch. At any point during this tutorial, if you feel like you're moving too fast, the bike starts to get away from you, you're uncomfortable, just pull that clutch in. That will cut power to your rear wheel. It'll put you in neutral and you can coast and stop. I've seen too many videos where someone gets going this way, they give it too much throttle, next thing you know, they're in the bushes, jumping the curb, and not only is your bike damaged, but you could get hurt. And the goal of this tutorial is to do this as safe as possible. So, like I mentioned, your clutch is over here. We're not going to worry about any of these buttons because every bike's different, and for this tutorial we don't need any of them, but you do have, every bike's different controls over here. On the right side of your bike, unlike a car, when you hit the brake in your car, you activate the front and the rear brakes on the car. It's not separate. On a motorcycle, however, you have your front brake, which is up here. This is your front brake lever. I highly recommend when you're learning, when you're riding on the road, get in the habit of covering your front brake. And when you go to brake, don't use all four fingers. It takes such little pressure to apply that brake. When I come to a stop, that is literally all I'm applying right there. You can use 1 or 2 fingers. Some people do 4, but if you get scared, you don't have ABS like my bike, and someone cuts out in front of you, you freak out, you grab like this, you might lock up that front tire and get sent over the handlebars, high side, low side. You don't know what's going to happen. So I don't recommend using 4 fingers here. I use 2. And whenever I'm riding, you can see I don't need any of my fingers, and I can twist the throttle just fine. So I always hover my 2 fingers over the front brake. So in this tutorial, if you see me doing that while we're riding, it's just a safety thing, because someone cuts out in front of me, I'd hate to go from this to this. That little bit of time right there at 60, 80 miles an hour could be a couple 100 feet, 50 feet, something like that. So cover that, and that obviously puts us onto the throttle. This is your throttle, your right hand over here. Have a very loose grip on these handlebars when you're learning. If the bike starts to get away from you and you've got a death grip on this thing, you might accidentally give it way more throttle and either, depending on your bike, pop a wheelie, launch it. And that's why I said keep your hand on that clutch or ready to pull in the clutch if you get going too crazy. The grip for me, I like a nice relaxed. You'll see there's some space right here between, my hand's not like this and it's not way out like this. I kind of hold it this way. And you'll notice I'm not holding it perfectly like parallel with the stock right here. I'm actually kind of angled a little bit, and that puts my arm at a slight angle right here. Way more comfortable, and it'll just relieve a lot of stress on your elbows, and it's just better that way. So ride like this during the tutorial. If you're not comfortable yet, you're gonna just hold on to it right here. We're not even gonna be touching the throttle for the first couple minutes of this tutorial. So like I mentioned, that's your front brake. This is your rear brake. Same side of the bike, but this is operated with your foot. If you don't have ABS on your motorcycle, this rear brake is a lot safer to lock up than your front. You can control a rear brake lockup. Just slowly let off, make sure you're in a straight line when you let off the rear brake, and you will be okay. That then puts us on to the other foot control over here, which for the part of this tutorial, it isn't gonna matter a ton, at least at the beginning. We're gonna be staying in first gear. The way this works, if you've ever driven a manual, you have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and reverse, or maybe not sixth, some combination of that, and it's usually in like an H pattern. This, however, is a sequential. To hit third gear, you have to hit second gear. You can't jump from first to third like you could in a manual car. The way these gears work, your foot's gonna be on that lever. First gear is always down a click. So you're gonna kick it down as low as it'll go. Maybe you're in fourth, you gotta go third, second, first. So get it into first gear. That is the first step of this tutorial. Mine hasn't yet like engaged, so it's not showing on there. But the easiest way to do it is just kick it down. That's how you know it's in first gear. Now, to hit neutral on the bike, depending on the motorcycle you have, Kawasaki's are nice because they have a neutral finder, meaning if you're at a stop and you kick it up into neutral, it will not go into second. It will always find neutral. Not every bike's like that, so a very gentle touch of the gear stock up from first gets you into neutral. That means you can let off the clutch, you can let the bike sit and idle, you don't have to hold that clutch in. Every other gear is up. So first, like I mentioned, is down. You want second, full kick up. Now you're in second. Now third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Just kidding, no seventh that I know of. But that's how that works. And then the opposite applies. If you're in sixth gear, which for this tutorial, we're not getting into sixth, but let's say we get up into second and you need to get down into first, just gonna kick it all the way down into first. Now it might go into neutral. If it goes into neutral, just remember neutral is between first, second, neutral's in between. So if you hit neutral, just kick it down one more time and that'll get you into first gear. So that's a walkthrough of all the controls on the motorcycle here. I'm gonna put the GoPro on and I'm gonna show you how I learned to get going in a straight line. So let's jump to that. All right, everybody. So we are now on the motorcycle. I'm wearing all my gear. You don't have to if you're practicing this, but I highly recommend it because you are learning for the first time. At least have a helmet on. Something like this tutorial, we're not going to be getting fast enough that like you're going to be worrying about road rash, but a helmet or maybe some boots in case you fall and the bike gets on your leg. That's important. So the first thing I did when I got my motorcycle is I just sat here. I sat on my bike, get kind of comfortable. And I apologize for this GoPro angle, it's probably looking down too much, but get comfortable on the bike, kind of practice, like all I'm doing is like shifting the weight back and forth between my legs. Make sure your feet are like firmly planted on the ground and just get used to what your motorcycle feels like. Something like this bike is a good bit heavier than my 400 and it took a little getting used to, but practice that. Shift it back and forth, back and forth. If you want to hold on to the handlebars while you do it to make sure you're a little more comfortable, you do that. Practice it. Practice the feel of pulling in your clutch lever. Practice the feeling of I just said clutch and pulled front brake. Practice the feeling of your brake lever, what that feels like to grab. You could squeeze it real hard here. Practice your clutch, pull that clutch in. Notice I'm on a slight hill. Although I'm in first gear and the bike shouldn't move, if I pull in that clutch, the bike starts to roll back just a little bit. We let that clutch out, it goes into first gear, that rear wheel's not moving. So once you've done that for a few minutes, gotten used to the weight, we're gonna start our bike up. So I'm in first gear, so I need to pull in the clutch, hit my kill switch, and start my motorcycle. Now you'll see, if I slowly, we're not even going to worry about this throttle right here. I've got my hand on it, but we're not even going to touch it. If I slowly let my clutch out, you'll notice the bike starts to inch forward just a little bit. I want you to do that. Practice what that feels like. You'll feel it when it grabs, that bike will start moving forward, and just walk with it. With your feet, just walk with the motorcycle. So let the clutch out, it starts moving, walk with it, and then pull it back in. You'll notice I'm not letting it all the way out. This is what happens if you let the clutch out too fast. Oh no, I stalled my motorcycle. So that's what happens if you let it out too quickly. If you do, don't worry, just start your bike back up. We're gonna let this out super slow, right until it grabs, and then the bike starts moving. We're gonna walk with it. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can let it out all the way. It's gonna lug, it's gonna wanna kind of jolt a little bit because you're not giving it any throttle, but you're moving. You'll notice at that point, when the bike starts moving and your speed gets up there a little bit, you can, I'm still not all the way out, now I'm all the way out. I can get my feet up on the pegs, and now look, I'm moving. I'm not even touching anything. And if I get moving too fast, I'm uncomfortable, pull in the clutch. Now, at this point, you might have to grab the brake to stop, but just grab your brake. So we're gonna circle back real quick, and we're gonna do that over again. You're gonna do this a lot more than what I'm telling you in this tutorial. We're gonna come back around right here. And I just didn't want to do the same thing all the way back, so I just came back to where we started. So we are in first gear. Maybe practice with the gearing. Practice kicking it up into neutral. You can see once it's in neutral, I can let the clutch out all the way. It doesn't affect the bike. Go into first, neutral. You'll see on this, it won't let me do second gear because it's the Kawasaki like positive neutral finder. But we're just gonna put it back in first gear. We're gonna let that clutch out slowly. Get walking with it. Just practice that. Pull in the clutch, brake. Do that over and over. If you have a big area like this, just keep practicing that. Let that clutch out slowly. Walk with it. Don't let it out all the way. If you do, you're gonna stall your bike. If you do it too quick, or you let it out all the way before the bike can handle it, it's gonna stall. So, let that clutch out, or slowly let it out and just walk with it. And if you can see what I look like right now, I'll probably have a clip on the screen. I look really stupid. I'm kind of waddling with it, and the bike's barely moving. But that's okay. We're just getting a feel for what it's like to walk with our motorcycle. If you're lucky enough to have a downhill, like right here, it's going to make it a little bit easier because the bike's naturally going to want to move. You'll notice if I don't do anything, the bike wants to walk forward, so it's going to make it just a tad easier. So let that clutch out slowly, walk with it, and then get your feet up on the pegs. Practice that feeling of once the bike's moving, getting your feet up on the pegs. That's the best thing you can do. You don't want your feet hanging out down by the ground where you could actually get them caught while you're moving, which could throw off your balance or something like that. So just gonna slowly let that clutch out. And this is what I did in my parking lot. I did this for a while, just sat there over and over and over, just letting that clutch out very slowly, very gradually until it wanted to start moving. you'll see I haven't added a single bit of throttle and we're moving around this parking lot. So the next thing I want you to do, once you're comfortable with that, wait until you're comfortable with that. Don't rush through these steps. This is important. This is the foundation of your riding right here. What I'm gonna want you to do next is add a little bit of throttle. The best way this was explained to me is that you can give it all the throttle you want. You can hold on to that throttle. The clutch is what's actually letting that power go to the rear wheel. So I give it all this throttle, but I only let the clutch out a little bit. It's only gonna move a little bit. So be careful with that. You can put money in the bank, but until you take that money out, you can't use it. It's not the best example, but that's how it was taught to me. So we're gonna put it in first gear. All we're gonna do right now, so that the bike doesn't go away from us, same thing we have been doing. Let that clutch out slowly. Start moving. Once you're moving, add a little bit of throttle. Just a tiny bit. We don't want to add too much. Just enough that like the bike's not lugging how it was earlier. And we're just coasting. You'll notice I'm turning the handlebars left and it's going left. Now that seems like a silly comment to make, but it'll make sense later in this video. So we're gonna add some throttle. We're gonna pick up some speed. Don't worry about shifting right now. We don't care about that. Bikes will rev out high. You'll see mine goes to 15,000. I can hit about 60 miles an hour, maybe 50, 60 miles an hour in first gear. We're not going that fast, but just get used to that feeling. Have lots of space so you can make these wide U-turns. We're not concerned about making tight U-turns right now or figure eights, nothing like that. Just getting comfortable moving, starting and stopping the bike. Once you get up to speed, that's when you can slow down. You'll notice if I just let off the throttle, the bike stops pretty quickly. Now, if you don't pull in this clutch, it's gonna stall on you, and that's okay. There's no shame in stalling right now. You're still learning. But when you start to go slow enough, you're gonna wanna pull that clutch in. Let's say I get moving, right? I'm getting up there, I'm getting a little cocky, I hit 15, and I freak out, and I slam on the brakes. It's a little jolting. If you're not ready for that, your feet aren't ready to go down, you could drop your bike. So for right now, have plenty of space that you can just let off the throttle. So we're gonna get started. We're moving, we're getting up there, 10 miles an hour. Woohoo, you did it, we hit 10. Let's get going a little bit faster here. Maybe get up to 20, and then just let off the throttle. Close that throttle slowly, and it'll slow down. Just make sure you pull back in that clutch. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna get moving. Close the throttle. Start slowing down, 10 miles an hour or so. You can physically feel the bike lugging and kind of jolting back and forth. And that's when it's about to stall. Close the throttle, pull in the clutch, and we're gonna practice just coming to a stop. Make sure your feet are out. For right now, feel free to use both your feet on the bike to help stabilize it. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can just have one foot down. But keep doing that. Do that a few times until you're comfortable. Get moving, get speed, get used to what it feels like. Maybe practice just kind of turning like this. Once you're comfortable with that, we're gonna add in shifting. So I want you to get moving. You need some speed for this or it's not gonna work. So add some speed, get up to maybe 15, something like that. To pull in the clutch, you have to pull in the clutch. Get your foot ready under the shifter, and you're gonna kick it up a gear. Clutch in, now I'm in second. Now you can, at this step, just let the clutch back out and give it more throttle. It's not how you're gonna do it down the line, but this is the easiest way. Now we're in second gear. All right, let's do it again. So I put it back in first gear, pulled in the clutch, kicked it down into first. So I get moving. pull in the clutch, kick it to second, and now this time, after you're comfortable with that, when you let the clutch out in second gear, I want you to give it a tiny bit of throttle, just enough that it keeps the revs up. And now we're moving in second gear. You can add a little more speed now. Now the important thing I wanted to show you is once we get into second gear, make sure you practice stopping. Make sure you get used to what it feels like to grab that front brake or hit that rear brake. Once we get moving fast enough, it happens around 25 miles an hour, you're gonna feel something a little weird. And that's the best part about motorcycling is instead of me doing this to turn left, I'm actually gonna be able to push on the handlebars and the bike will go left. So that's counter steering. I'm not gonna go into explaining how that works, but push left, and it's very, very slight, but you're just going to slightly push the left bar with your hand and it'll go left. The easiest way to show this, get on the bike, up and down, push left, and you'll see the bike naturally like tilts left. I'll push it right, the bike naturally tilts right. So we're going to get going, get up to some speed. Make sure you've only done this once you're comfortable with every step. That's how this tutorial is going to be best for you. So we'll get up in a second, and now you'll notice if I push left, the bike naturally wants to go left, and it's so slight you probably can't even see it on the camera, but I'm gonna push left and it tilts left. The bike wants to lean over. That's how you corner on this. It's corner without leaning. Once I get going slow enough, it's back to that normal steering. So add some speed, maybe get up to 20 now. Push left, the bike goes left. Push right, it goes right. That's counter steering for you. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for watching. I want you to take all those exercises I gave you and just practice. Spend an hour on the first step that I explained to you. That video had to be short because I can't give you like a 3-hour tutorial on how to ride a motorcycle. So do all the exercises that I showed you multiple times. Practice letting that clutch out slowly before you add throttle. Practice what it feels like when it's engaging, what it feels like to let it out too quickly, and practice that. Then add some throttle, get up to some speed, and just practice shifting. What I was explaining earlier, when you go into second gear and as you let the clutch out, you give it some throttle, that applies for every single gear that you change into. Make sure you keep the revs up because your revs are going to naturally drop, but if you just pull in that clutch and wait too long to let it back out, it's going to go in neutral and idle, and the revs are going to drop so low that when you let the clutch back out, it's going to bring the revs back up. And that's okay. Most of these bikes have slipper clutches, especially your beginner bikes, and it's not going to be too bad to slip that clutch, unlike a car where like you don't want to ride on that clutch for too long. On a motorcycle, you can practice letting it out slowly and just riding that clutch. And like I said, if you ever what the fuck is this Tesla doing? Okay, well, I don't even remember where I was at. Thank you for watching this video. There will be a second one where we'll get into adding more speed and practicing turning and slow speed maneuvers. But just for this first video, it's going to give you a good feel for getting the bike moving and then practicing that stopping. Make sure you pull that clutch in. Make sure you're comfortable on that bike moving in a straight line before you start adding speed and practicing to turn. It just all will work together. These are your fundamentals. This is the best part of your motorcycling journey, is this bit right now. When you're in a parking lot messing around, the first time you get that bike moving and you get up to speed, there's gonna be a big smile on your face. And just get used to that, have fun, enjoy your motorcycle, and most importantly, be safe while you do it. check back for the next video where we're going to talk about slow speed maneuvers, getting higher in speed, eventually riding in traffic, and where to put yourself, and a lot more. If you have anything else that you're curious about, I've been riding for almost a year and a half now, put it in the comments and I'll make sure to get to it and hopefully make a video about it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.